And we continue to follow breaking news in Dallas, Texas. A shooting at an ICE facility has left 2 people dead and 1 person in critical condition. Authorities say the shooter is also dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, the gunman opened fire from a rooftop of an adjacent building toward the facility. All 3 of the people shot were detainees at the facility, and officials say anti-ICE messages were found near the suspected shooter. Here's a Texas Senator Ted Cruz from moments ago.
This is the 3rd shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other.
CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca is live in Dallas right now. And Omar, what more do we know about this deadly shooting?
Well, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and officials here, state and federal and city and county, had a chance to answer them, but they didn't. We had several questions that we wanted to know what's going to be done to protect not only the ICE agents, but who we're hearing was shot. We have 3 senior law enforcement officials that are telling Nicole Skanga, one of our DHS and security correspondents, that a gunman fired indiscriminately at the ICE facility. Victims that were shot were all ICE detainees, is what they're saying. So we were trying to ask Senator Cruz and the special agent here in charge, what are you going to do to protect your ICE agents, but also detainees who may be in U.S. government custody? Right. And they didn't want to answer that question. Let me kind of paint a picture of kind of lay of the land where we are. This road that you see behind me is I-35. For people who are not familiar, this is a hugely busy highway. This goes from Mexico all the way up to Canada. I mean, you're talking, it starts in San Antonio, Dallas, goes up through Kansas, goes through Minneapolis. This is a major highway of transportation. This is where this ICE facility is. This is not one of those big facilities that holds thousands of people. It's a small, almost like a processing facility. An immigration attorney I was just texting with told me that sometimes this is where people who do have their case going through the system will come in to check in. You have to do sometimes monthly or several times a year. You have to check in with ICE and immigration officers. This is also the facility where they do it. So just kind of trying to paint the picture of what that looks like here, right by a busy highway, not a place that you're going to come to unless you know it's here.
Yeah. From, again, important context there. Omar Villafranca, thank you so much for your reporting. And we are, of course, getting some new information about this shooting. This is from 3 senior law enforcement officials. So before we get to Scott MacFarlane, I just want to read for you what we have learned so far. So officials are telling us that the gunman fired indiscriminately in a spray at the ICE facility and at an unmarked van nearby the facility. Now, those victims that were shot, they were all ICE detainees. No law enforcement official was hit. We also know at least one of the victims ran out of the van and was actually trying to get help from inside the facility. We're also told the gunman was positioned at an elevated location, and that gunman opened fire from the rooftop of an attorney's office across the street from the ICE detention facility. As we told you earlier, that gunman died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and we heard officials there say that the gunman targeted the ICE facility. So right now, let's bring in CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane. And Scott, it seems like these attacks are getting more frequent. You mentioned earlier about these copycat attacks, basically. So let's talk about the facilities here. Just how are they secured? It seems at this point maybe more officers are needed to prevent situations like this.
As Omar showed us, that facility is in a uniquely busy area, right off the interstate in the heart of a major American city. It's one of so many federal offices and complexes around the country, though. It's one of 9,000 or so federal offices and complexes around the country, but this one would have a unique security posture around it. Not just the Federal Protective Service, the federal agency that helps protect federal offices, the visitors and workers who go into them, but also local law enforcement and other federal agents. It's an immigration facility. What's more, it's been an immigration facility targeted in the past. There was a bomb threat detected there in late August. The person believed responsible for that has been charged with a federal crime and had been detained. Also have been any number of targeting of other federal complexes, more than 350 threats against federal buildings in America detected and investigated in just 1 year. And you have agencies that specialize in trying to detect threats before they happen, who have a perimeter. You know, the Federal Protective Service has an operation called Operation Shield, in which they deliberately try to be visible outside of federal offices to deter these types of attacks. But I'll tell you something, those signatures on those shell casings or those bullets alleged by the FBI director, that is part of a pattern now, isn't it? We saw in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, shell casings with messages in them. In the assassination of the United Healthcare leader in Manhattan, signatures allegedly on the shell casings or the bullets. That does give concerns about a rising number of copycats who try to message killings.
Yeah, very scary to think that someone might be inspired by something like this. Scott, what do you think comes next in this investigation?
Well, you have so many different players now. You have the Dallas police and the FBI who spoke today as part of this. Gives you an indication this is a joint local and federal investigation. Whenever you have a shooting of magnitude, you're going to have the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. That's part of the investigation as well. You have here a suspect who is dead, but there's going to be a review as to if anybody else had knowledge of this, had information about this. And for the point about investigating more broadly, in Utah, there still is a federal investigation to ensure anybody else wasn't part of the plotting against Charlie Kirk. It's a very natural thing for law enforcement to get into. I suspect this will be another instance in which they do.
Yeah, certainly will. Scott MacFarlane, once again, thank you so much for joining us.